Pulling up to the hospital was crazy emotional. I felt every emotion you can imagine. I was nervous, scared, excited. As soon as they walked us up to the nursery and they took us over to where he was, it was just love. So he was connected to a few cords, so they just had to, as soon as we got there, they were trying to get him out, and she handed him to me, and I just remember crying. I was in middle school, and I remember there was a couple at my church, and they adopted a little girl from China. And I feel like when I was a kid growing up, adoption wasn't as common or wasn't really talked about, and watching them bring her home and adopt her, I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. As soon as they adopted her in middle school, I was like, I'm gonna do that one day.
We just don't think there's a better gift you can give someone than giving someone a family who, out of no fault of their own, was not given a family, did not have a family at that point. And when we got married, we had our daughter traditionally. And then when she was about 2, we realized it's time. We need to do this. We feel like God has called us to do this. And so we decided to go ahead and begin the process. And we actually have a photo of the 3 of us together, Shalina, Barlow, and me, dropping the envelope and the papers off at the post office.
On a random Saturday, August 29th, my phone rang, and it was our agency, and all they said was, we had a baby born last night. Can you come to the hospital? And I was like, now? And they're like, yes, now. I'm like, okay.
And all of a sudden, I was tackled in the midst of my nap and awoken very violently because it was Shalita coming to let me know that we had a son. Our son had been born the night before. We had been selected. And I'll never forget that feeling walking in the first time and seeing him laying there, because you walk in and you see a baby just kind of laying in the nursery there, and you pick him up and all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is my boy. I mean, this is my son. You know, this is the real deal. Our lives have just completely changed forever. So we were just sitting there chatting with the doctor, and I asked, when we could potentially get an answer on what we were dealing with and how the process would begin. And she said, no, I already know, he has cerebral palsy. And it just was so immediate and sudden and quick that I think we were in shock.
As soon as we got to the car, like he said, there's no words. We just hugged and cried. It's definitely an emotional roller coaster. There's highs and lows. There are nights that I still cry, wondering why my child, why us, why my family.
We were the family that adopted. We were the one that was trying to, do something great and following what we felt like God called us to do. It's hard to accept that, we took this leap of faith, and it's, why is this happening to us?
So I think right after we got his diagnosis was like, oh, I'm gonna pray about this constantly and hope for this miracle. And then as time went on and there was no miracle and things kept seeming worse, I honestly was just kind of done. I was like, I'm angry. I basically stopped praying because I was like, I'm praying for something that's not even happening.
It's really easy to hear a lot of people say, this is God's plan and you just have to trust God's plan, until you're in the midst of having a son who you love so much and he may never walk.
The hope that I see is when I see Hudson when he's around others. I mean, he's such a light. That would be my perfect description for him. And I do think that he is going to change other people's lives. He's changed ours, he's changed our daughters. There couldn't be a better big sister for him. She's caring. I think this is just teaching her so much about loving others. And it's really special to watch the 2 of them and our family. I think that our family has just grown so much closer.
One of our favorite stories in the Bible is the disciples and Jesus going out on the lake, and there being the storm and the wind, and Jesus is just asleep downstairs. We read it all the time to our kids. And, you know, sometimes as we've gone through this with Hudson, it's kind of felt like God's asleep at the wheel. Like, hey, wake up, man, calm our storm. You know, like, you know, this has been chaos and craziness around us. And we're trying to trust that he has a plan and that he is still in charge. He's not asleep there. And one of the things that we always say to each other over and over again is that one thing we will say is that if the definition of our storm is Hudson, then he's worth it. Give me a life jacket. I'm in, because he is worth it. He's an amazing kid. This has been really hard, but we trust that God has a plan, and we love our son more than anything.
Well, I love my brother so much. And my brother is really special.